All right, so I've animated in assets for the beak, for the eye. I'm going to make the eye all red. Hopefully I can do this in a batch. Select them all. Yep, make them red. Good. Okay. And then I can kind of just play with different movements. Let me get rid of the head on the body here. Or let me do this. Let me get rid of everything but the beak. Or get rid of the beak, rather. And notice I didn't animate the upper beak, because the upper beak moves with the head. Just like your upper jaw moves with your head. You can't move your upper jaw up on its own. It's always the lower jaw that moves. It's a good little tidbit to know. And then instead of worrying about how the beak integrates with this, I can just move all those beak layers below my character's full body. And then they'll integrate pretty well. Right behind, whether it's open or closed. And then the eye, of course, is going to go on top. I can even show a little bit of movement of the eye. Have it move back and forth. Aha, check this out. Woo! Where you at? Where you at? Okay. So now the body. I will make this green. So how do I animate the body? I make a duplicate, and then I use a very special type of warp called Puppet Warp, which you'll find under Edit. You go to Edit Puppet Warp, and then you have to, each time you change it, you have to set anchor points. And that's why anatomy is so important. And I'm going to set them at the joints of the wing. I'm going to leave the head out of it, because I don't want to move the head. I just want to move these wings. Okay. And that allows me to take the tip of the wing and move it. In a fairly believable way. And it will shift everything else a little bit. Again, little movements. And I have the other layer showing behind. And what's cool about Puppet Warp is it's not just changing the shape of the wings, it's actually changing the posture of the body just a little bit to accommodate for this change in movement. Shoulders are important. Okay, so let's see what that did. So I went from that to that. See how it kind of shuffles a little? And I might want to animate that tail a little too, like have that kind of flick up and down. So now I go from that last step, I make a duplicate, Command J, and I'm going to use Puppet Warp again. And the only problem with it is I'm going to have to set those joints again. And you don't want to set them at arbitrary places. You have to understand the anatomy of your creature and where those joints should go. And this time I'm going to add some to the tail as well. Okay, so let's start with this wing now. I'm going to start to bring it in. Oh, need a point there. And the tail, I'm going to let it flip up a little. And this wing, I'm going to start to bring it in from the shoulder. Okay, so now it goes to that. Make another duplicate. And again, Puppet Warp. So Puppet Warp is fantastic for animating character assets. The key is in not making too many joints. The joints have to make sense. If you make too many, then it just looks like a wet rag instead of a structured creature. Because this is still just warp tools. It just draws a wireframe around your cutout. And what you do with your joints is you're telling it which points need to stay flexed and fixed, no matter what kind of movement you animate in. So you have to be careful. I don't want to move those legs too much. I just want them kind of shuffling in place. So each movement should be small. And notice how the eye is always staying put and that head is always kind of staying put. Okay, one last one. Duplicate that body. Puppet Warp. There's things you're not able to do without using new composites. Like I'm not able to totally fold the wings in because I don't have reference of that. I can't show the back of the wings just by warping them smaller. I'll see how far I can push it, but there are limits you want to respect. Oh, I think I want a little bit more from the tail that time. So let me Puppet Warp that again and just add to it. And now I just can isolate the tail. Whoops. Without setting some other joints so the whole guy will move on me. I don't want that. All right. Oh no, I gotta get the eye back into its ring. Let me edit that one yet one more time. Otherwise it will cause me all kinds of problems. So I tried to shortcut it by not putting all the joints in, and that's what caused me the problems. So even when you're working on just one part, you need to put quite a few of the joints in. Let's get that eye back into its eyelid. Like so. Okay. So all my bird layers are going to be green. And now I've got everything I need to animate for my bird. So how do I go about doing that? Well, I don't do it in my assets layer. In fact, I'm going to take all of these and drag them to the trash because I don't use the timeline unless I'm on the stage. But what I'll do is I'll take all of these layers all the colored character layers, and I'm going to move them to my stage. So here they are. I drag and drop them all to my stage. I need to move them up above my background so I can see. And then I can use my move tool, have all those layers selected, even the ones that aren't showing, and place it in. Right. I'm going to move these darkening frames and turn them off and move them above my character. And I'll show you what I'll do with those a little bit later. Because as I darken my character, what I can do is set these onto an overlay mode. No, not an overlay. Let's see. Soft light. A way that affects my character. Oh, let's see. We'll see. Maybe we'll try it a different way. But there are other ways to use assets other than just as opaque layers. Okay, so now I have all the character things in my stage. I'm going to save my stage at this point. I'm going to save my character assets at this point. Maybe put this back in here as I need to build new ones. And we're always working between the two. And now I want to start flattening them into frames. Okay? So remember, all these layers I have also in my character assets. So now I can start building and merging them. So as I've panned my camera over and I've gotten to this frame, the problem is I also want to have the creature kind of in a hero shot. Maybe with its beak closed and its wings in. So there. And its eyelids, yeah, just barely there. And I can show I'm looking different directions. Good. So this is my creature. So now I'm going to turn off my background. And I'm going to do something a little weird, but you'll understand why. I'm going to grow my canvas size just a tiny bit. So if it's, I'm going to go to 7.5 for mine on both sides, and I'm going to extend that color with black. So I'm going to have a little black frame around my image. Right, there it is. And what I'll do is select that black frame,